Take a look at the modern landscape of personal development, and you will quickly notice a glaring contradiction that traps millions of individuals in a cycle of stagnation. We are constantly flooded with messages that equate self-love with immediate comfort, passive indulgence, and the unconditional acceptance of our current weaknesses. We are told to listen to our feelings, to take a break the moment things get difficult, and to treat any form of strict, self-imposed structure as an unhealthy, rigid burden. This cultural phenomenon creates an environment where temporary comfort is prioritized over long-term character growth. But if we pull back the curtain on this philosophy, a sobering reality emerges. A life directed solely by fleeting emotions and instant gratification leaves us feeling anxious, directionless, and deeply disappointed in ourselves. True emotional alignment and genuine confidence cannot be found in the avoidance of effort. Real fulfillment is forged when you look at your potential and make a non-negotiable commitment to honor it, regardless of how you feel on any given morning. Discipline is the highest form of self-respect. Welcome back to Everyday Better You, the dedicated space where we strip away the noise of superficial motivation to build an unshakable foundation of mental clarity and personal mastery. Our guiding principle remains completely steady and unwavering. Every day, better by 1%. We do not look for massive overnight overhauls or performative transformations. Instead, we understand that permanent excellence is constructed through small, deliberate, and sometimes painful choices that stack up over time. Today, we are going to dive deep into an aggressive restructuring of how we view discipline. We are going to dismantle the misconception that being disciplined means turning yourself into a cold, unfeeling machine. Instead, we will explore why setting non-negotiable standards for your behavior is the most profound act of love and respect you can ever show to your soul. This conversation is a direct invitation to stop negotiating with your comfort zone, to step out of the trap of cheap emotional indulgence, and to take back the steering wheel of your destiny. Let us unpack the layers of this timeless principle and learn how to build an elite mindset, step by step, day by day, in the beautiful crucible of absolute self-control. Part 1. The illusion of emotional governance. We live in a society that has romanticized emotional vulnerability to a dangerous extreme, convincing us that our daily actions should be entirely dictated by our inner feelings. We wake up in the morning, and the very first thing we do is check our internal emotional state to decide whether we are going to work hard, eat clean, or pursue our goals. If we feel a slight wave of fatigue, a touch of hesitation, or a lack of immediate inspiration, we treat that feeling as an absolute law. We tell ourselves that forcing our way through discomfort is a violation of our authenticity. So we stay in bed, scroll through our screens, and postpone our execution to a future date when we hope we will miraculously feel motivated. This structural reliance on emotion is the ultimate blueprint for a mediocre life. Feelings are inherently volatile, temporary, and deeply unreliable. They are influenced by the weather, your last meal, or a random comment from a stranger. If your highest achievements depend on something as unstable as an emotion, you will never build anything of lasting value. As elite mental toughness coaches regularly point out, discipline is choosing between what you want now and what you want most. To truly break free from this emotional trap, you must understand the psychological mechanism of self-negotiation. The human brain is biologically wired to conserve energy and avoid discomfort at all costs. When you stand at the edge of a difficult task, like a grueling workout or a complex project, your subconscious mind immediately generates a flood of rationalizations to keep you safe inside your comfort zone. It tells you that you are too tired, that tomorrow is a better day to start, or that you have already done enough. If you enter a debate with that inner voice, you will lose every single time. Discipline is the internal habit of shutting down that debate before it even begins. It is the capacity to decouple your execution from your emotional state entirely. A disciplined person does not possess a magical absence of hesitation or fatigue. They simply refuse to let those sensations participate in the decision-making process. They move because they said they would move, turning execution into an automated, non-negotiable reality. The core misconception that derails millions of well-meaning people is the belief that inspiration must precede action. We wait for a sudden lightning bolt of motivation to strike us before we take the first step toward our dreams. But real, sustainable momentum operates in the exact opposite direction. Action precedes motivation. When you force your physical body to begin a task despite a complete lack of emotional desire, your brain chemistry begins to shift within minutes. The friction of starting dissolves, your focus locks in, and a profound sense of pride begins to emerge. By waiting for a feeling that may never arrive, you are essentially outsourcing your life to chance. The legendary Stoic philosopher Seneca captured the essence of internal sovereignty when he wrote, "Most powerful is he who has himself in his own power." This reminds us that true personal power is not about controlling external circumstances, but about establishing an absolute, unshakable dominion over your own internal impulses and daily choices. To overcome this illusion of emotional governance and secure your 1% progress today, you must implement a strict policy of zero negotiation with your morning alarms and initial resistance. Treat your calendar and your commitments not as flexible suggestions, but as sacred, binding contracts with your future self. When the moment arrives to execute a task, completely refuse to ask yourself how you feel about it. The question of comfort is entirely irrelevant. If you committed to reading, writing, or exercising at a specific hour, step into that activity with absolute physical immediacy, treating your mind's excuses as empty background noise. By repeatedly forcing your body to act ahead of your emotions, you rewire your neural pathways, breaking the dependency on fleeting motivation. You build a mind that values execution over excuse, ensuring that your daily progress becomes a predictable certainty rather than an emotional variable. Part 2. The shallow comfort of self-indulgence. We are currently living through a cultural era that has completely redefined the concept of self-care, turning it into a marketing tool for continuous consumption and chronic laziness. Every time we open a digital platform, we are bombarded by imagery telling us that respecting ourselves means ordering luxury food, buying items we cannot afford, and canceling our commitments to spend a weekend watching television under the guise of protecting our peace. We are told that discipline is a form of self-punishment, an aggressive and toxic denial of our humanity that leads straight to burnout. This modern narrative offers a highly seductive, comfortable lie. It gives us a beautiful psychological justification to surrender to our lowest impulses, wrapping our lack of standards in a blanket of emotional wellness. But if we analyze the long-term consequences of this continuous indulgence, we find that it produces the exact opposite of peace. It leaves us with a profound sense of internal emptiness, a deteriorating body, an unstable financial reality, and a total collapse of personal confidence. As profound psychological researchers warn us, easy choices bring a hard life, while hard choices bring an easy life. The great danger of constant self-indulgence is that it systematically erodes your self-belief. Every single time you make a promise to yourself and break it for the sake of temporary comfort, your subconscious mind takes a detailed record of that failure. When you say you are going to wake up at 5 and you hit snooze 3 times, or when you say you are going to eat clean and you order fast food instead, you are sending a clear signal to your deep psyche you cannot be trusted. Over time, your self-esteem undergoes a slow, structural collapse. You stop believing your own words, you lose faith in your capacity to change your circumstances, and you develop a profound inner shame that no amount of superficial self-indulgence can ever mask. True self-respect can never be bought or performed. It must be earned through the quiet accumulation of personal victories. It is the psychological reward for choosing the path of immediate friction over the path of immediate pleasure. The misconception that keeps people trapped in the cycle of indulgence is the idea that happiness is found in the complete absence of resistance. We believe that if we can create a life of total ease, where we never have to face a difficult challenge or a strict routine, we will finally be content. But the human spirit is not designed for static comfort. It is engineered for expansion, challenge, and the mastery of obstacles. When you remove all friction from your life, you do not find happiness. You find an agonizing state of boredom and apathy. The profound depth of real satisfaction belongs exclusively to the individual who has crossed through a dark valley of intense effort to achieve a goal. The brilliant clinical psychologist Carl Jung exposed the hollow nature of cheap emotional evasion when he observed neurosis is always a substitute for legitimate suffering. This demonstrates that when we refuse to face the necessary healthy suffering of discipline, hard work, and emotional boundary setting, our minds create an artificial, toxic suffering in the form of chronic anxiety and existential dread. To free yourself from this trap of shallow indulgence and elevate your life by 1% today on this Everyday Better You path, you must completely redefine what true self-love looks like, stop viewing discipline as a cold restriction, and start recognizing it as the ultimate shield that protects your future sanity, health, and freedom. True self-care is not a bath or a cheat meal. It is the courage to look at your future self and say, I am going to do the hard work today so that you do not have to inherit a life of regret, debt, and broken health tomorrow. The next time you are tempted to skip a workout or give in to an unhealthy craving, view that moment as a critical test of your self-respect. Refuse to trade your long-term destiny for a 5-minute hit of cheap dopamine. By intentionally choosing the path of legitimate effort, you pay the immediate tax of discipline to buy a lifetime of authentic confidence and profound internal peace. Part 3. The architecture of personal freedom. There is a widespread cultural myth that views a disciplined life as a form of self-imposed imprisonment. We look at individuals who operate under strict schedules, maintain meticulous dietary boundaries, and dedicate long hours to deep work, and we view them with a sense of pity. We believe that they have stripped their lives of spontaneity, joy, and liberty, turning themselves into predictable slaves to a routine. We tell ourselves that true freedom means having the option to do whatever we want, whenever we want, completely unburdened by any rules or standards. But if we observe the lives of people who live according to this definition of total spontaneity, we find that they are the most heavily enslaved individuals in the world. They are completely at the mercy of their biological urges, their changing addictions, and the external manipulations of the digital grid. A person who cannot say no to a screen, a substance, or a lazy impulse is not free. They are a prisoner inside their own unchecked skin. As modern sovereignty mentors accurately observe, without discipline, your freedom is nothing more than an elegant illusion that masks your total lack of control. The reality of human performance is beautifully paradoxical. True freedom is found exclusively on the other side of intense structure. When you have the discipline to master your finances, build a liquid savings account, and live below your means, you buy the profound freedom to exit a toxic job or pivot toward a risky creative passion without the fear of starvation. When you have the discipline to maintain a powerful, athletic, physical body through regular exercise and clean nutrition, you buy the beautiful freedom to move through the world without physical pain, chronic fatigue, or life-limiting illnesses. When you have the discipline to control your attention span and focus on a single task for hours, you buy the career freedom to produce high-value work that commands premium compensation. Structure does not cage you. It constructs a powerful concrete fortress around your life that keeps the chaos of the world from destroying your peace. The error that traps so many individuals in an unstable lifestyle is confusing the concept of freedom with the concept of unchecked impulsiveness. We believe that a spontaneous choice is a sign of an authentic life, but most of our spontaneous impulses are completely engineered by external algorithms or biological vulnerabilities. When you impulsively click on a notification, spend money you don't have, or skip a study session, you are reacting like an automated puppet whose strings are being pulled by corporate entities or immediate survival mechanisms. You are operating as a purely reactive animal. True freedom is the capacity to pause between a stimulus and your response, analyze whether an action aligns with your highest values, and choose to overrule an impulse if it serves your stagnation. The ancient military philosopher Thucydides captured this profound reality perfectly when he stated, "The secret to happiness is freedom, and the secret to freedom is courage." It takes an immense amount of daily psychological courage to stand up to your lowest desires and enforce a standard of excellence upon your own behavior. To implement this architecture of freedom and grow by 1% today, you must stop resisting rules and begin intentionally designing your own personal code of conduct. View your daily routines not as a set of chains, but as the tracks that allow a high-speed train to move forward at maximum velocity. Sit down with a physical notebook and map out a strict structure for your morning and evening transitions. Decide in advance exactly what time you will put your devices away, what foods have no right to enter your physical body, and how many hours you will dedicate to your deep development every week. Enforce these boundaries with the cold, absolute certainty of an elite commander. When your environment or your lazy instincts try to disrupt your tracks, stand firm and protect your code. By choosing to bind yourself to a magnificent, high-standard routine, you eliminate the cognitive exhaustion of decision-making and build a stable launchpad that propels you into a life of genuine autonomy and unshakable mastery. Part 4. Reclaiming your cognitive attention. In our hyper-connected modern landscape, the greatest battle of your life is not being fought against external enemies, economic fluctuations, or political instability. The true battle is being fought every single millisecond right inside your own skull over the possession of your cognitive attention. We are surrounded by multi-billion-dollar technology corporations whose entire business model relies on keeping our minds fractured, impatient, and in a state of continuous distraction. The human attention span has been systematically broken into tiny fragments, leaving us with an acute inability to think deeply, read a dense book, or stay locked onto a single objective without an overwhelming urge to check a notification. This mental restlessness is not a minor inconvenience. It is a catastrophic loss of intellectual sovereignty. A mind that cannot control its own focus is a mind that can be easily programmed, manipulated, and directed toward a life of hurt consumption. As elite cognitive performance mentors wisely note, protecting your attention through radical discipline is the absolute foundation of human intelligence. The primary error that millions of people make every single day is believing that they can achieve high levels of success and personal growth while maintaining a highly undisciplined digital lifestyle. We see students who attempt to study with their phones buzzing every 2 minutes, or professionals who try to write strategies while switching between 15 different browser tabs and social media feeds. They treat their focus like an infinite resource that can be spread across multiple channels without any consequences. But cognitive science has proven that every single time you shift your attention away from a deep task to check a minor distraction, your brain incurs a massive performance penalty known as attention residue. A significant portion of your working memory remains stuck on that distraction, leaving you with reduced mental power to process your main objective. This continuous cognitive fragmentation burns through your brain's physical fuel, leaving you in a chronic state of mental fog, creative bankruptcy, and profound intellectual exhaustion. The core neuron that prevents people from building deep focus is the belief that attention control is a natural talent that you either inherit or do not. We watch individuals who can sit at a desk for 4 hours of unbroken, high-intensity, creative work, and we assume that they possess a unique neurological gift. But focus is not a genetic lottery. It is a physical muscle that must be trained through aggressive, deliberate discipline. If you train your attention every day to be impatient, scattered, and reactive by constantly feeding it short videos and instant notifications, that muscle will become hopelessly weak. If you want to possess an elite mind, you must have the discipline to structure an environment that protects your cognitive resources from the non-stop assault of the digital world. The great Roman Stoic Emperor Marcus Aurelius pointed directly to this liberating mental discipline. Every hour focus sturdily like a Roman and a man to do what is in front of you with precise and unaffected dignity. This shows that deep focus is an act of deep character, an intentional choice to treat your current work with absolute respect. To practice this cognitive discipline and elevate your mental sharpness by 1% today on this Everyday Better You journey, you must build a bulletproof wall around your deep work hours. Stop treating your phone like an extension of your physical hand. When you sit down to tackle your most important project or study a complex subject, turn your phone completely off and place it in a separate room or a locked drawer. Close every single communication tab on your computer monitor. Set a timer for 45 minutes and make a non-negotiable pact with your soul that your eyes will not leave the page or the screen until that timer sounds. When your brain inevitably experiences a sudden itch to open a new tab or seek out a quick distraction, view that sensation as a direct challenge to your mental sovereignty. Breathe through the discomfort, let the urge pass away, and bring your focus back to the center of your work. By forcing your mind to stay single-pointedly locked onto one objective, you repair your broken cognitive pathways, unlocking a profound level of creative depth and intellectual power that positions you miles ahead of a distracted crowd. Part 5. Breaking the pattern of generational stagnation. We like to believe that we are completely unique individuals who construct our behaviors, beliefs, and standards entirely from scratch. But the sobering truth of human development is that the vast majority of our daily habits, financial patterns, and emotional reactions are completely inherited from our immediate environment and family history. If you grow up in a household where fitness is completely ignored, where money is constantly spent impulsively, where obstacles are met with immediate anger or giving up, and where discipline is non-existent, those patterns become deeply embedded into the architecture of your subconscious mind. You enter adulthood with a default programming that slants heavily toward comfort, distraction, and mediocrity. Without a conscious, high-intensity intervention of discipline, you will automatically repeat those identical patterns, passing the torch of generational stagnation down to the children who watch your every move. As transformation strategists clearly observe, discipline is the only force powerful enough to break the invisible chains of a compromised family blueprint. The primary error that keeps people trapped in a cycle of inherited limitation is the toxic habit of externalizing the blame for their current circumstances. We spend years pointing fingers at our upbringing, our lack of financial inheritance, the mistakes of our parents, or the systemic limitations of our neighborhoods. While those challenges are completely real and deeply unfair, remaining in a state of chronic victimhood does absolutely nothing to change the reality of your future. Your past may not be your fault, but your future is entirely your responsibility. The moment you use your history as an excuse to avoid the heavy labor of personal discipline, you become an active accomplice in your own stagnation. You are choosing to let the limitations of your ancestors dictate the final boundary of your life. Breaking a generational cycle requires that you step out of the crowd, stop looking for sympathy, and adopt a level of personal standards that feels completely radical to the people around you. The misconception that prevents true ancestral breakthrough is the belief that changing your life requires a loud, public, and highly dramatic declaration of independence. We think that to alter our family trajectory, we must move across the world, cut ties with everyone we know, or achieve a massive, multi-million-dollar victory overnight. But true cultural transformation is a quiet, internal, and microscopic process. It is forged in the hidden corners of your normal day through the tiny habits that no one else ever sees. It happens when you choose to go to sleep early instead of participating in late-night gossip. It happens when you open a book on financial literacy instead of spending your paycheck on status symbols. It happens when you handle a crisis with calm, structured stoicism instead of emotional hysteria. The visionary psychological pioneer Carl Jung exposed the absolute power of individual consciousness when he stated, "Till you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Discipline is the ultimate tool that brings your inherited programming into the bright light of conscious awareness, allowing you to rewrite your destiny with absolute intent. To break the pattern of stagnation and advance by 1% today on your everyday better you journey, you must accept your role as the deliberate architect of a completely new family standard. Look closely at the recurring struggles in your family history, whether it is chronic poor health, financial chaos, or emotional instability, and make a non-negotiable vow that those patterns terminate permanently with you. Build a set of daily non-negotiables that directly attack those weaknesses. If your history is marked by financial insecurity, make it an absolute law that 20% of your income is automatically invested before you spend a single penny. If your history is marked by physical neglect, make it a non-negotiable standard to train your body 4 times a week without exception. Do not look for approval or understanding from the people around you. They will often view your new discipline as a critique of their own laziness. Stand firm in your solitude, knowing that every single time you choose execution over comfort, you are rewriting the genetic and psychological blueprint for every generation that follows your steps. Part 6. The long-term geometry of compounding excellence. The modern mind has been heavily corrupted by the concept of instant results. We live in an environment where we can order food with a swipe, stream any entertainment in seconds, and access instant communication 24 hours a day. This immediate gratification has warped our understanding of how true human excellence is constructed. When we sit down to pursue a massive life goal, whether it is mastering a complex skill, building an elite career, or transforming our physical health, we expect to see dramatic proof of our progress within a few weeks. When the scales do not move, when our skills remain clunky, or when our financial accounts look identical, we experience a profound sense of frustration. We conclude that our efforts are being wasted, lose our motivation, and abandon our routines entirely. This is the tragic mistake of the hurt thinker. Human excellence does not scale in a linear manner. It operates according to the long-term geometry of exponential compounding. As strategic performance architects deeply warn us, the early stages of discipline are entirely quiet. You are paying a massive upfront tax for an exponential harvest that will manifest years down the road. To understand the absolute power of compounding excellence, you must visualize a single drop of water falling into a cold, dark stone basin every single day. For the first few months, your daily action looks completely meaningless. The basin looks identical, the stone looks untouched, and an outside observer would tell you that your consistency is a total waste of time. But if you maintain the unshakable discipline to keep adding that drop day after day, year after year, a profound physical transformation is quietly taking place beneath the surface. The continuous, concentrated impact of those drops begins to fundamentally alter the molecular structure of the stone, eventually carving a deep, permanent path right through its center. That is exactly how discipline reshapes your life. Your daily 20-minute reading session, your daily clean meal, or your daily early morning wake-up call looks completely insignificant in isolation. But when those tiny choices are compounded over 1,000 consecutive days, they trigger a massive, unstoppable avalanche of personal transformation that looks like an overnight miracle to a lazy crowd. The primary error that prevents people from experiencing this exponential harvest is their complete inability to tolerate the valley of disappointment. This is the extended period at the beginning of any journey where the input of your discipline vastly exceeds the output of your visible results. It is the phase where you are working incredibly hard, but your life still looks completely normal. This is the exact point where 95% of humanity surrenders to their comfort zone and quits the race. They fail to realize that the energy they are investing is never lost. It is simply being stored up in the reservoir of their character. The ancient Roman philosopher Cicero offered an immutable law of human mastery when he wrote, "The cultivation of the mind is as necessary as food to the body." This reminds us that you must nourish your discipline every single day with the cold, patient trust of a farmer who plants a seed in the dark earth, knowing with absolute biological certainty that if he protects the soil consistently, the harvest will eventually burst forth into the light. To master this geometry of compounding excellence and secure your 1% growth today on this everyday better you journey, you must completely stop evaluating your progress based on your daily results. Shift your full metric of validation away from what you achieve and place it entirely on how well you executed your daily routine. At the end of every night, do not ask yourself if you became rich, fit, or wise today. Ask yourself a far simpler, far more aggressive question. Did I do exactly what I said I would do when the sun was down? If the answer is yes, treat that day as a massive, unconditional victory. Trust the mathematics of consistency. Keep showing up to your desk. Keep moving your body. And keep guarding your thoughts in total anonymity without demanding immediate applause from the world. By choosing to fall in love with the unglamorous process of daily execution, you allow the law of compounding to work its quiet magic, ensuring that your life eventually explodes into a state of unshakable authority, abundance, and profound personal freedom. Part 7. Designing your bulletproof digital fortress. When we talk about building a life of absolute self-respect through discipline, we cannot afford to remain in the realm of abstract philosophy or historical quotes. We must address the raw, practical reality of the environment we navigate every single second of our lives. The modern digital world is an incredibly hostile territory for human focus, mental health, and personal autonomy. Your smartphone is not a neutral utility. It is a highly calculated, algorithmically optimized psychological cage designed to keep your mind in a state of chronic, hyper-reactive distraction. If you approach this digital ecosystem without a strict, aggressive strategy of environmental discipline, your highest intentions will be completely obliterated by the endless stream of notifications, outrages, and short-form entertainment. You will spend your life reacting to other people's creations instead of constructing your own legacy. As technical digital ethicists clearly state, reclaiming your sovereignty requires you to build a bulletproof fortress around your lifestyle, transforming technology back into a tool rather than a master. The primary tactical error that keeps people trapped in a state of chronic mental exhaustion is the belief that they can master their attention using willpower alone. We sit down to do deep work with our phones sitting right next to our computer monitors, convincing ourselves that we will simply ignore the screen when it lights up with a new notification. This is a complete psychological delusion. Willpower is a highly finite, easily depleted biological resource managed by your prefrontal cortex. Every single time your phone flashes and you force yourself to look away, your brain expends a distinct unit of mental energy to resist that temptation. Within a few hours, your willpower is completely exhausted, leaving you highly vulnerable to mindless scrolling, lazy food choices, and total executive paralysis. True discipline is not about fighting temptation in the middle of a chaotic environment. True discipline is about having the intelligence to remove the temptation from your environment entirely. The misconception that prevents people from building an environmental fortress is the fear of digital isolation. We treat every application, notification, every group chat update, and every corporate email as an absolute emergency that requires our immediate attention. We have allowed technology to convince us that being constantly accessible is a professional necessity and a social virtue. But this constant availability is a direct act of self-sabotage. When you are available to every digital ping at any second, You are fundamentally declaring that your own time, your own thoughts, and your own life goals possess zero value. The brilliant Stoic Emperor Marcus Aurelius provided the ultimate blueprint for this environmental optimization when he wrote, "Loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight." This reminds us that you must have the courage to shed your toxic digital habits and change your environment completely if you want to protect the sacred quality of your inner temple. To construct your bulletproof digital fortress and upgrade your focus by 1% today, you must perform an aggressive, non-negotiable cleanup of your technical ecosystem. Pick up your smartphone right now and turn off every single notification, badge, banner, and sound, leaving only real telephone calls from actual human beings active. Delete every single social media application from your device, forcing yourself to access those networks exclusively through a desktop computer monitor twice a week at a fixed hour. Establish a strict, non-negotiable screen curfew. At exactly 8 o'clock every single evening, plug your phone into a charging dock located completely outside of your bedroom and refuse to touch a screen until you have completed your entire morning routine the following day. When you enforce these boundaries, you will experience a sudden, intense wave of digital withdrawal and phantom anxiety. Stand firm through the static. As the days pass, that anxiety will settle into a beautiful, spacious sense of mental clarity, creative power, and profound internal peace, allowing you to move through the world as a deliberate author of your reality rather than a reactive digital slave. We have traveled through a deeply intense, raw, and transformative journey together today, meticulously dissecting the hidden forces that continuously attempt to compromise our focus, erode our standards, and trap our lives in a cycle of emotional reactivity. We have looked at the dangerous illusion of emotional governance that leaves us dependent on unstable motivation, the hollow nature of modern self-indulgence that masks itself as self-care, the profound paradox of personal freedom that can only be unlocked through absolute structure, the necessity of protecting our finite attention spans from digital manipulation, the courage required to shatter patterns of generational stagnation, the immutable mathematics of compounding excellence over an extended time horizon, and the practical steps needed to design a bulletproof environmental fortress around our daily habits. Remember, the true metric of your self-respect is not found in the grand declarations you make to the public eye. It is found in the quiet, anonymous choices you make when no one else is watching. As we bring this powerful episode of Everyday Better You to its natural completion, let us anchor our minds firmly to our steady, unchanging Northern Star. Every day better by 1%. Do not place an impossible, overwhelming burden on your shoulders to transform your entire existence by tomorrow morning. True, unshakable mastery is never constructed through frantic, chaotic bursts of energy. Instead, focus your full intent on winning just one small, non-negotiable battle over the next few hours. Find the courage to place your phone in another room when you sleep tonight. Stand firm against your very first lazy impulse tomorrow morning, or dedicate 30 minutes of absolute, unbroken focus to a project you've been running away from. Each tiny victory of execution over emotion is a magnificent, sovereign declaration of your self-worth. Thank you for slowing down with me today to invest deeply in the quality of your character. Guard your attention fiercely, protect your standards with absolute dedication, and keep building a deeper, wiser, and truer version of yourself. Until next time, stay completely intentional, stay beautifully grounded, and keep growing better every single day.